mean, the thing is that you're affecting a lot of people. You're helping a lot of people. Sometimes being a successful businessman isn't because you have $20 million in the bank. It's just because you're helping people. The beauty of my business is, we're through the stages. We're educators now, just like you. Like I tell everyone, there's 3 stages of business. The oh shit stage, is this going to work? Because I've just jeopardized everything I have. Then the stage of, okay, we're paying the bills. Everything's going amazing. My family's safe. My staff is safe. There's no turnover. We're helping people. We have a good message. And then the last stage is where Core finally has come to after 15 years. And now we're educators. I don't care who you use, but I want you to use the right place. Like, you have to understand that there's a lot of bad direction in this industry, and there's a lot of bad stigma, but there's also great places to go. And if you don't want to use me, fine. Tell me where in New Mexico you live and I'll find a good place to go. And that's really when, because we're educators now, that's really when we've grown to that next level. Like, we've just blown up from that.
Amazing. Hey guys, if you missed out on the last conference in Nashville, Tennessee, you don't want to miss out on the next one. It's April 28th through May 3rd, Orlando, Florida, the Gaylord Palms Resort and Convention Center. You made a mistake missing the last one. You don't want that to happen again on this one. 5 days of some of the best training you're ever going to experience packed into one event. We have an early bird special right now, $50 off. Use 24 early bird on our website, streetcop.com. Look for the conference, click the link, register today. If you want to get significantly better at this profession in 5 days, don't dare miss out on the 2024 Street Cop Conference.
111, 110.
Training to be a street cop.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Street Cop Training Podcast. I'm your host, founder and CEO of Street Cop Training. My name is Dennis Benino, and we're lucky to have a guest in studio today who flew in the day before 4th of July. This is being recorded. I got about 250 people coming to my house tomorrow, just so you know.
Oh,
so
good.
once we're done here, it's going to be over to Jersey Mike's. I'm taking the crew. We got to start setting up. Dude, I have a... I'll show you pictures, but I have this slip and slide that everybody's dying to go down. It's 120 feet on my hill it's inflatable.
Oh, that sounds like a problem.
Oh, it's a blast, dude. It's a blast. I'll probably go up and down it like 40, 50 times just today before the party starts.
Good.
Last night I was practicing my cornhole skills quietly because I want to fucking do some damage on the 4th.
Nice.
We're lucky enough to have Sidney Gordon joining us today in the studio. For those people in our audience who are unfamiliar with who you are, why don't you tell us who you are? You can start from like where you grew up, and you got a pretty good fucking story, dude.
Thank you. Dennis, thanks for having me. My name is Sidney Gordon. I'm the CEO of Core Medical Group. Core Medical is main headquarters is in Boca Raton, Florida, but we operate in 43 states across the country. Worked really hard to grow the business. It all started in Massachusetts, Newton, Massachusetts. I moved from Newton to Boca Raton in 2000. Troubled kid, had no direction, and came to Florida, and really wanted to start over, and I accomplished that, by the help of a few mentors. My buddy JP down there, Jimmy Redgate, they really helped me get on track in life, and started off actually when I moved down there selling motorcycles at a place called Delray Power Sports. And I'll tell you an interesting story. I was standing out in the parking lot waiting for a customer to come in. This guy pulls up with an enduro bike and he's trying to get out of the truck. His name was Tim Malloy. And I helped him get out of the truck. And on the way from the truck to service, I sell him a brand new motorcycle. I'm like, oh, there's a better one inside, blah, blah, blah. I sell him a bike. He buys the bike, comes back 45 minutes later in a 430 Ferrari and goes, you don't work here anymore. Get in the car. You work with me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, holy shit.
Wow.
I was like, I'm making $600 a week in here, dude. I'm not leaving, I'm like 20 years old. And sure enough, he teaches me the whole mortgage business. So I was in the mortgage business for about a decade, ended up opening my own firm, doing real well there. And when I was a part of the crash, and during that crash, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was trying to reinvent myself, and I got into debt consolidation, and we did real well with that. And then I had some time to really think, and I knew the business I wanted to get into next was a residual business. The mortgage business is tough. You start from scratch every single month. And so I slowed down, talked to a bunch of people. I've been into health for years, and may or may not have dibble-dabbled in selling anabolic steroids as a child. and really wanted to get into something that I was passionate about, and found out that you could actually prescribe properly and do the right thing by people by analyzing their hormones. And I got really excited about that, and I started to learn the business. And sure enough, it snowballed into Core Medical today with over 14,000 patients in 43 states and 16 doctors and a big staff, and I love it. It's amazing.
You said you were a troubled kid. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? And where'd you grow up, by the way?
Newton, Massachusetts.
You grew up in Newton.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what happened to your accent, dude?
I've been in Florida for 20 years, and I spent a lot of time in New Hampshire and
Okay,
Maine.
I'm hearing it a little bit, right? A lot.
Yeah, I threw out there for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I just, I didn't have direction. The town I grew up in was a blue collar town. Well, the part of the town I grew up in was a very, super blue collar town. My best friend's father was the captain of the police in the town. We got away with quite a bit at the time. We were just talking about how policing's changed quite a bit. Back then, it was like, don't do that again.
Right.
And the stuff we did wasn't anything crazy. It's just I never had any direction. My father left at an early age. My mother did her best that she could do with me. She was one of the hardest workers I've ever. I learned all my work ethic from my mother. She worked 2 jobs. She tried to provide for me the best that she could. And I really believe that having a strong father figure in a family unit is really important. I was unsuccessful in my first marriage. I've tried really hard to keep my oldest daughter grounded, and I communicate well with her. But like when one parent's completely absent, there's a lack of need that child has, and that child wants something that maybe you're not providing. And the second go around now, I've worked super hard to provide that for Juliet, my youngest daughter. And growing up, I remember wanting more time with my father and my mother. Just working so hard that I was at my house. I had no structure. I could do whatever I wanted. I had a keg in my closet. Drugs in the house. It just wasn't. It wasn't a recipe for success later on in life.
Brothers and sisters?
An only child.
How old were you when your father left?
16. And
that's wow.
He committed suicide when I was 21.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Have you unpacked that?
Yeah, I had to do a lot of work around it. So my dad and I, when I moved back down to Florida at 20, I was 22. When I moved back down to Florida when I was 20, we re-engaged a little bit, and we were starting to build a relationship, and he supposedly got his life back on track, remarried actually a woman that worked at Harvard. And I thought things were going well for him. So I was slowly developing back into the relationship because there was so much concern around that. Before that, I worked a lot on, not holding resentment towards him, maybe not understanding where he grew up and how he grew up and what was going on. And, that didn't last too long. About 6 months into our relationship, I get a phone call from his wife saying that he embezzled all of her money and took off. And it turned out that he stole some money from some people and was in some deep trouble and was trying to fix it. And he called me like it was nothing, telling me, "Hey, I'm going to make a trip down to Florida to see you." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, Dad. As far as I'm concerned, you're dead to me. I can't have you around. It's a risk for me and my family." And the next morning, the Rhode Island State Police called me and said that they found my father dead in a homeless shelter. So he ate a bunch of Ambien, and that was that. I mean, I went through the barrel. I was more angry than anything else about the fact that I said what I said, but then I learned through a lot of work that it wasn't my fault. At the end of the day, people deal with saying things that they don't mean. I'm a lot more cautious about what I say now to people, and especially in the situations that they're in, and try to come from a different place now than I did then. But importantly, the most important thing to take away from it is that you can't control people's actions when they're in a place of such horror. You deal with it, I'm sure, quite a bit on the job. I don't mean to deflect towards you, but you deal with that quite a bit on the job. You walk up to a situation, and I've listened to a lot of your stuff, and you said something the other day that said, treat every traffic stop like you're going to get killed or something like that.
Thanks,
along
man. I
those
appreciate
lines.
you listening to my stuff.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I didn't know you actually knew enough about us. I thought we were just.
The police community.
Well, I'm just saying in general. Like you're a street cop fan. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, no, Jay, like, I'll tell you about why I'm so excited to be here, in a second, but like when, like, you kind of have to implement that attitude in almost everything that you do during the day, not such dramatic, amounts, but like, for instance, like going into a relationship with someone, making a business transaction, like, how can you be the most effective not to hurt the person on the other side of the table and make things work, right? So that's what I got from that. And it's like, all right, well, I've been in bad situations before, and I always had the mentality of I'm going to be fine. But like, we really can't act like that as we get older. We have to dose it down a little bit and be more calculated, I believe, in situations. And I think that there's a huge lack in that across the board. Like people aren't thinking enough about the situations that they're walking into.
Well, they're not taught enough, right? So
you just weren't taught right. I say it all the time.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
So like, one thing that I work on, and if I could give anybody advice, if they did anything in this world, it's to practice non-judgment. And it's not easy. But if you keep practicing not judging people and try to think about, why did that person do that? Why did the person act that way? What does the person look like that? It's very hard to do because we are very judgmental people. But there's a real release in there and a real comfort in life to have relationships with people that you never thought you'd have relationships with. So I always try to think, like, where's the pain? Where's the hurt? Where are they getting their butt kicked? What's causing this? Why did they end up this way? Why did I end up this way? So that to me, that's the one core thing that I'm trying to emphasize to everybody, especially into my children, of non-judgment.
Yeah, it's hard too to teach that when, like, the odds are against you. Like, you're telling your kid, if there's a kid at school that people aren't paying attention to, like, I want you to go up to that kid and I want you to ask him how his day is, and I want you to say, I want to play with you later on the playground. Like, that's the way I teach my kids, right? I actually learned that from John, my brother-in-law, and he's like, he taught me about this. The father's podcast or the dad's podcast. It's like it's one of the most amazing podcasts. The guy was just on his show, and I've been paying attention to that real well, and I've been implementing it. It's amazing. But then you have the other side of it where, the dads aren't implementing that. So then you have like 10 kids that are making fun and then 2 kids that are trying to help. They're outnumbered. It's difficult, but the kids can't give up. You can't let your kid give up, because eventually they're going to outgrow that. And our kids are going to grow in a more positive direction, I believe, than the kids that weren't taught right, kind of like my background.
Dude, this past weekend we went to a party. It's the summer, right? So it's not like, it's so funny because I don't like really drink that much. And so, people go to this party, and I was advised, and this is not the first time I've heard this, that my oldest, so one of the mothers comes up to my wife and says, I just want to say that I don't want to say my oldest son's name for, obviously, privacy purposes, but they said, so-and-so, her son was having a real difficult time in school. Kids were giving him a hard time. She's like, your son sticks up for him.
That's amazing.
All the time. And he also did it for his other friend. I'll say her name, Camila, that their mom is like, he's my favorite. I'm like, why? She's like, because kids give Camila a hard time, and he sticks up for her all the time. She comes home and tells us that. So while he's a dick at home to his brothers and sisters,
yeah,
I like the idea. And I know we're doing something right. I just don't know what it is. That's 2 stories where parents were getting pretty much emotional with us about how good of a boy he was and how much he sticks up for those who were picking on him. But when we're talking about these kids, I can't emphasize enough that it's so important to take the time to invest in your children and direct them correctly in a non-judgmental way. Because I'm going to tell you, you're going to be thankful with the product that you have, essentially, when you're watching these kids and how they behave with other children. I said this recently, like, my kids don't even, yesterday was the first time I heard this. My next door neighbor's a Sikh Indian, so he comes over. He's like 78, and he's sending 2 trays of like spicy chicken tomorrow to the 4th of July. And we're like, yeah, thanks, man, I appreciate it. Like, he just always wants to be part of it. He wants me to go to Atlantic City with him. I'm like, I don't got time, dude. He's like a 6'4" Sikh Indian. So my son, for the first time I heard them identify somebody by their culture or their ethnicity. So my number 2 is like, Sonny's Indian, right? And I go, yeah, he's a Sikh Indian. He goes, yeah. He goes, I have an Indian kid in my class too. I go, yeah. These guys are amazing. They're the best neighbors like you could ever ask for.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing, with Core Medical has done some amazing things for me. With as far as that goes, like we have such a diverse group of people. For instance, like we were blessed to get into, I don't know how much you know about Core, but we are one of the largest supporters for the U.S. military. We have,
awesome.
Pretty much every Green Beret walking the face of the earth uses us, and all the 3-letter agencies. And one of the reasons why I was really excited to come on this podcast is I was in Spokane. I was at the NWGIA conference there, and then I went from there to California to the Southern Cal Gang Association. I spoke at both events.
That's awesome.
And where I'm getting at is like the reason why Core is amazing is I get to get involved with so many diverse groups of people. Like I have everyone from your normal walk of life, Fortune 500 company owners, ex-NFL players. I had the entire UFC when they could all take the stuff, and now I work with all the guys that are on the back nine. Working with like the military, and I get to learn not only about culture, but I also get to learn about diverse businesses, such as like I never realized how much of a business the NFL was. Like it's a scary place, and I never learned so much about the military and how it's also a pretty scary place, right? And then I get to work with these people that have started these amazing companies, and I built amazing relationships, not just through Core and like on a personal level, but it's just like, it's been just unbelievable. So I've never been in the position growing up. I grew up in a very white area. The only Black people that I had communication with were the ones that came in from the METCO program. Then I moved to Boca Raton, Florida. And I would say the growth of letting your walls down and being available for diversity is a very, very important thing in business. It's huge. It's big. And I have a saying now that I learned from that. Actually, it's funny that we're talking about is there's two types of people that I surround myself with, the ones I love and the ones I do business with. But sometimes those two people come together, and I'm doing business with the ones I'm spending time with people that I love and doing business with. And like, that's the beauty of having like a healthy business, helping a lot of people. So yeah, it's been a great ride there. But, so I didn't know too much about the podcast other than, Cody and I are super, super close.
Oh, that's my boy, dude.
And he fucking like loves you.
I love that guy.
And
that's my fucking boy, dude. I wish we lived closer together. We'd hang out all the time.
So I want to celebrate you for a second, because he said something to me that was like so amazing. He's like, that dude just calls me to ask me how I'm doing. And for a dude like Cody, you don't know how important that you do. You probably do know how important that is. Like that's important for a guy like Cody, because he's got a lot figured out, but he's also trying to figure some stuff out. And
aren't we all right?
He holds you in such high regard, and people don't understand like that 10-minute phone call can really change someone's direction that day. It's like saying hi to the guy that might be homeless on the street. Like, hey, how you doing, sir? You having an okay day? Like, that old, that can change someone's life. Well, for Cody, he thinks you're amazing. And,
thanks, dude.
And doing that has been like really, really instrumental to him, because he thinks that you and I both have it all figured out.
Oh God. I'm like driving here today. I'm like, I have nothing figured out. I'm driving here. I'm like, I literally am at this place in my life where I'm trying to I don't know if I've ever been at a junction in my life where I'm spending more time trying to figure it out. And I'm at these major crossroads. I probably said that for the past 3 years, but I really am at this major crossroad now of, I have to figure a lot of stuff out. Dude, I don't do those things. And I wish I was able to do more of those things. What I do is when I think of somebody, I just take 20, 30 seconds to reach out and say hello. So if I can think about you and I have your cell phone number now, I'll just be like, yo, how's things, man? Hope all's well. And everybody has life. They're busy.
Yeah.
Cody's really on the up and up, really taking off really nicely. He is a flawless speaker. Flawless. I mean,
so I don't know if you know this, but we had so I work with Jay Redman.
I love that guy.
Lou Velozzi, Cody Alford, Mel Chansey.
I love Jay Redman, by the way.
So do I. He's one of my favorite people.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
So when you're surrounding yourself with good people, and then also Vincent Araco Vargas. I don't know if you know who he is. He's on the show The Mayans. He was a ranger and then was on Border Patrol. My brother-in-law John had all 5 of those people back to back on his podcast that haven't released yet. So like Cody's was like ridiculous. I've heard pieces of
Yeah,
it is
it's wild.
ridiculous. I mean, all 5 of them were off the chain, like amazing, because they keep it. The podcast is called The Real Ones, but they keep it real as fuck. Like those dudes, like have no fucks given. They've seen hell and back, and you know they do so much more for me than I do for them. Like they're all ambassadors for my company. They travel with me and they speak. They drive a lot of traffic and a lot of credibility to Core Medical because of their background. But like spending an hour or 2 days with them at a conference, like is so impactful to me.
Me and him have so much fun, dude.
Who, Cody?
Dude, we have like, when we go out, like we went out like 4 or 5 times together in Nashville. We couldn't stop fucking laughing the whole time, dude.
He's the best.
It was, we had me, him, Justin Daniels, who's Officer Daniels on Instagram. I mean, dude, it's just like nonstop laughter. And I just, good time, dude. Just a fucking good time. And, we just got to let loose. I had to watch how much I let loose because a lot of eyes on us when we were there.
Yeah.
But dude, he's just fantastic. I love him so much.
So I'll tell you how much Cody's grown. I'm gonna tell a story real quick. We're in Spokane, Washington, and if I have any advice for a conference, don't have a police conference inside of a casino that's open 24 hours a day serving alcohol.
Oh yes,
bad decision making skills.
We did that. But however, it was post-pandemic. It was our first one in Atlantic City. And let me just tell you something. I said, it doesn't matter where you're going to have the conference. They're going to find the alcohol and drink 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the one in San Diego was unbelievable. They were, all the police officers were in shape like you. They were receptive. They learned a lot. I spoke a lot about hormones, things that they didn't know. And we had a huge attraction. Cody went on stage and he's, the majority of the audience was out of shape. And Cody was like, hey guys, be quite honest with you, like, the guy that's out of shape and doesn't shoot their gun but once a year typically dies first where I come from. And the audience didn't like it. 90% of the audience didn't, but 10% did. They loved it. Because he's real. Like the reality of it is like when people don't like something, sometimes it's just
Truth
because
hurts, man.
The truth hurts, right? So one of the dudes comes up to him after at the booth and he's sitting there and we're all talking. I have a line at the booth of the 10% of people that really wanted to learn more. And this dude walks up to him. He's like this and like that. He's like, I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You want me to choke you out right now? And Cody looked at me and I was like, have at it, bro. Like whatever you want. And Cody was like, hey man, you know what? He's like, a little bit, years ago, this conversation would go differently, but I hope that you have a good day and can go prove yourself somewhere else or something like that. He said, and the dude just like kind of took off because he was pissed off. Cody's done so much work around himself, more work than I know of anyone else that I know. And I know thousands of people. I know a lot of veterans. I mean, that's my whole community. My best friends are berets. And I get to surround myself in that community quite a bit. And Cody's done more work around himself than, man, I got to tell you, I'm super proud of him.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's times that we do, I get criticized constantly because I make take a lot of jabs at people who go out and write tickets all day in our profession. And I don't back down from that, but I'm trying to make a point where people are misunderstanding it. If I can get you in a room for 10 hours and you take a course of mine, you're going to understand exactly what I mean. But on the surface, people are, very quick to react because it makes them feel bad because you are getting under their skin because this is what they think police work is. And the reality is, if you just give me a little time to explain it, and you will probably more than likely.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, you will succumb to what we believe. And God, they always got to hold on to that last piece. Well, I think a good mixture of criminal apprehension and traffic enforcement is important. I'm like, when there are people targeting children, when there are 50,000 wanted felons in Harris County, Texas alone, and you're out there playing laser tag trying to catch speeders, like for me, like when you intervene with somebody who is so dangerous that they're a wanted felon, and people go, oh well, the court system, that's not the point. When we are removing them and they're going to hold those folks, that means crime decreases. That is our top priority. And everybody starts going into this thing of speed is the number one factor of fatal accidents. Right, because nobody on earth is doing 25 and a 25, 50 and a 50, 40. So if it's 43 and a 40.
Now, unless they're doing something wrong.
Right, exactly, dude. I thought you should have been a cop. But the reality is.
I mean, I was on the other side of it.
Yeah. So, exactly, dude, right? So was I at some points in my life, just so we're clear. I mean, the best cops in the game are probably the worst kids who just never got caught. And that's basically it. And dude, like, I'm telling you, I'm rolling with cats like as my partners, and I'm like, people don't know what we used to do, you know, like, and we're cops now, and like, but we're the cops that you want, not the cops that are the dirty cops. We're the cops that know how to talk to people, understand the game, understand what people are doing when they're involved in criminal activity, because we were there. We had friends like that. All our friends were like that. So we get it. We also know that when we get them, we know how to speak to them.
Yeah.
We get these other guys on the other side of things that never did anything wrong, never talked ever, don't know how to talk to people, and now have to talk to people. And they sound robotic. They don't know how to communicate. They don't understand the psyche. They're looking at these guys like those were the guys that picked on me. So you get this whole rub, but we're trying to fix a lot
That
of this
mentality
shit.
can save your life too, I think, too. I mean, that mentality of like being able to make someone feel like, all right, hey, this guy just wants to talk to me. Like, this might not be as bad as I think, might minimize the reaction of that person to have it go in a bad direction. Like, I do watch a lot of your stuff, especially since I got invited on the show, but I did before. And I really think that the dynamic of direction that you and your group are coming from is what is needed in the community right now, because right now the policing by itself is just, it's so difficult. And I think you're refreshing the community.
I think it's as difficult as you want to make it and who you're listening to. And I think you can really ease the difficulties by training. I thought about this on the way here too, because I have like 19 million thoughts a minute, right? So I thought about, how are you a cop and not training jujitsu? Like, how do you want your hurt? You want it now? 2 hours a week in the gym?
Yeah.
Craig, the Tourette's cop, called me yesterday, and I was like, hey, we're talking. He had a Fourth Amendment question to ask me. And I said, I think everybody should be training jujitsu. I mean, you're in the fighting business. You're in the fighting business, and
Well,
you don't know how to fight. As a police officer, you're going to be in the fighting business. You don't have a choice. So how do you go into the fighting business not knowing how to fight? How successful do you expect to be? So do you want to have shattered orbital bones and be learning how to walk again and get balance again? Or do you want to go spend the hour or two a week to go and learn how to fight? So this way, you don't have shattered orbital bones.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of statistics behind that, and it's brought down the amount of I guess beating in sense to over 50% of the community that does train it, right? So there's just a lot of statistics behind it. I did jiu-jitsu for years, and one of my best friends, who's a police officer, Mike, trained jiu-jitsu with me, and he basically said his life was completely different after he's in Boynton Beach, Florida, where there's back, until recent, it was pretty bad in certain areas. And, he used it all the time.
Right.
Like all the time.
You're going to fight people. I don't care where you work. You're going to fight people.
Yeah.
Just the way it goes. You don't have a choice. It's not like you go out looking for a fight. The last thing cops want to do is fight people. They're just not out looking for that because, there's always likelihood of concern of, am I going to beat this guy?
Yeah.
What's going to happen legally? How hurt am I going to get? There's just so many concerns. So the reality is, I just don't understand how you go into this profession and not investing in yourself. And dude, here in New Jersey, they're making 6-figure salaries, base pay.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, maybe it's something you should incorporate in your training.
Well, we have a lot of stuff in our training. Jiu-jitsu is interesting because there are a lot of options. I don't go down the road of jiu-jitsu in the sense of, for most men and women, the accessibility to a jiu-jitsu place to train it's a here.
Well, it's also, I mean, 80% of the time you're on the ground anyways, right? And if someone's a high level white belt even versus someone that doesn't know jiu-jitsu, they're fucked. They're fucked.
Think about that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, how many karate studios do you see opening because jiu-jitsu's completely dominated that entire world? Listen, I love kickboxing. I like Dutch kickboxing, right? And I still jiu-jitsu I would take any day of the week, and it's it definitely is something that is important. Like, I'm a big shooter. I shoot a lot. I shoot like twice a week.
It's cool.
Huge gun collector. Have like 8 dudes I shoot with all the time. And I get like really addicted to the shooting. I just got back from California with John, and I was shooting a Terran Tactical. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I saw the video. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so Terran built me a gun. It was sick. I was out there shooting, and it's interesting. And Terran's faster, like, and took me from example, 13 seconds to 8 seconds, and then he'd shoot it before seconds. It's like wild, right? And he's like, the military has a saying, smooth is fast, fast is smooth.
Right, that's right. That's exactly right. The cops use it too.
Yeah, and Tara's like, no, slow is just fucking slow. And I'm like, okay, and which is kind of true, but you have to understand, like, a different point of view is, like, have you ever seen someone hit mitts? They're amazing. They're just like, they freaking combo like crazy, but then they go into spar, and I call them a mitt hitter, right? They get punched in the face once, it's gone.
Right.
Well, for a police officer or someone in the military, it's different when you're getting shot at being that fast. You know what I mean? Like, some of that training is going to go out the window.
Well, dude, most of the men and women who I've spoken with, we have a lot of special forces guys on this podcast, and most of them say it got easier when we calmed down, aimed, and fired. We won most of the time. Obviously, they're here for a reason.
Yep.
Is the cooler heads prevailed when there's a little more calmness of it. We had a guy who came to talk to us in a police academy, my second one I went to, and he'd been in like 3 or 4 shootings, and somebody said, like, what advice do you have? I think it was one of the instructors actually asked him, what advice do you have for the men and women here who are leaving and may get in a gunfight? And he said, if you take the time to aim, you'll probably win. So,
I mean, that says a lot, because most people aren't really aiming.
Well, dude, a situation like that, you're just spraying and praying. You're hoping for the best, but that's because there's everything we do, every video you watch, good or bad, comes down to one thing. It's a training. So it's a lack or an abundance, and you can see it. You see these guys making quick work of criminals with jujitsu on these videos now.
Yep.
I mean, you got guys getting thrown in arm bars in 5 seconds, and they're submitting. We had one guy in Jersey
with a full kit on.
Yeah, dude. We got a guy in Jersey here. A guy comes out of a Wawa, which is a convenience store in New Jersey that is near and dear to everybody's hearts here.
They're everywhere
now. They are, right? Yeah, but it's a Jersey thing, man. Like, Wawa's a Jersey thing, and the guy's refusing orders. He flips him around, tosses him. He's got him in cuffs, and he's a cop here. He's in Jersey. He reached out to me. He's like, "Oh, that's my video." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." But listen, bro, great work. He's like, "Yeah, been training for 5 years." So that's how fast he made me.
That's a blue belt, probably. Then that's
I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that's the way it goes. There, I mean, when we think about it, like, muscle memory is a lot. It's like your brain in business. Like, I'm constantly trying to build new relationships in business so that I can work my brain in different directions, right? And jiu-jitsu is just a more mental game of chess than it is physically anything, than it is physically at all, right? So, I mean, I think, being diversified in all abilities, whether it's, for me, the analogy would be in business, right? For you, it's business and also deflecting to not have to get into a physical situation, but then having the ability to be aggressive if you have to, and also having the ability to be super aggressive if it comes down to that. And that goes from using your brain to slow down a situation to then maybe using jiu-jitsu to get handcuffs. And then if that doesn't work, obviously, the last result, which is, pulling your firearm and being effective with that firearm. So, I mean, there's a lot of stages to the game. And if we're not, staying diversified and staying on top of our game, we turn weak. And that's not probably a good place to be, whether it's in business or in your side of the field. And you understand both sides, right? You're a successful businessman. You've done a fantastic job with this.
Yeah.
And
sometimes I doubt that quite a bit.
No, dude, don't ever doubt that. I mean, the thing is that you're affecting a lot of people. You're helping a lot of people. Sometimes being a successful businessman isn't because you have $20 million in the bank. It's just because you're helping people. The beauty of my business is, we're through the stages. We're educators now, just like you. Like, I tell everyone, there's 3 stages of business. The oh shit stage, is this going to work? Because I've just jeopardized everything I have. Then the stage of, okay, we're paying the bills. Everything's going amazing. My family's safe. My staff is safe. There's no turnover. We're helping people. We have a good message. And then the last stage is where Core finally has come to after 15 years. And now we're educators. I don't care who you use, but I want you to use the right place. Like, you have to understand that there's a lot of bad direction in this industry, and there's a lot of bad stigma, but there's also great places to go. And if you don't want to use me, fine. Tell me where in New Mexico you live, and I'll find a good place to go. And that's really when, because we're educators now, that's really when we've grown to that next level. Like, we've just blown up from that.
Amazing.
So it's been great. and I love it. So, yeah, I mean, my biggest success is the veteran who couldn't sleep with his wife, has visceral fat, can't play with his kids, is suicidal. And I get a Christmas card from his kid every year telling me I got my dad back now because he's not taking all these drugs from the fucking VA. You know, I had a craziest story I ever had was at my first event, and I'm just about to go on stage and speak. And Nick Kay's sitting beside me, two of my staff members. This guy walks up to me with his wife and says, "Can I talk to you?" I'm like, "I'm about to go on stage. It's going to take 2 minutes." And he goes, "This is my wife." And I said, "Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you." And he says to me, "I got to tell you something crazy, man." I'm like, "All right, well, let me hear it." And he goes, "I got back from deployment, 6 deployments. I was in burn pits, came back, couldn't have sex with my wife, wanted to commit suicide, was paying my best friend to sleep with my wife. I go into the room next door. She strategically would have pictures of my kids up so I didn't blow my brains out because I had a gun every single time. And I was on multiple psych meds, pain meds, drugs to wake up, drugs to go to sleep. And I found you guys through Nick Kay. And we have a brand video that's gone viral. It's like 6 million views. And he said, "I got to tell you something." I go, after 6 weeks with you guys, I got rid of almost all my drugs. And I play with my kids every day. I have a successful job. And my wife and I have the best marriage ever. And we've got past that. And his wife says, "I didn't want to do that, but he just insisted and forced me. And it was miserable for me, but I did it." And he felt like he was depriving her of something that was so important in the marriage. And she didn't feel that way. But, you know, he was a pretty serious dude and told me that story. And now I'm fucking crying, dude. I'm like in tears. I'm crying. I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And I get up on stage. I'm looking at the dude. I'm like, so that didn't go so well up there, you know, but it was like one of the most effective conversations that I've ever had in my life. Simply because like then I didn't realize how much this was helping. I mean, I mean, I did, but it's that's what I kind of breed my success from, like stuff like that now, because everything else just falls into place. Like with my staff, I don't focus on my money. I focus on making them more effective, opening their bandwidth. I focus on their money, then my money comes, right? So like that's been a big deflection direction that I've gone in over the past like 5 years with my staff, is like making sure that they're super effective. And I don't like new personalities, right? So by me figuring out ways to make them more effective and opening their bandwidth, I don't have to hire more people. And that's a big thing for success in business too, is understanding that like you're building a community, right? And our community is our patients and our staff. But when you have it great, like I do, bringing in all these new people sometimes sucks. You have to implement, you know, Salesforce and, you know, new softwares and things to minimize new personalities to protect your business. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you ever have, you know, someone that you hire and you're like, oh, this is going to end bad.
Oh, quite a bit.
Yeah. That's my new thing now.
I just had to settle a wrongful termination lawsuit last week. Not because I was wrong, because defendant, because nobody told me I needed EPLI. I just did a video on EPLI and how important it is to have it, right? So it was a very, very, very expensive lesson to learn. Not because I did anything wrong, because it would cost me double to fight it in court. So I might as well just cut the check, lick my wounds, learn my lesson, and move on. So yeah, man, there have been a lot of times here, but the one thing that I am thankful for is I've gotten better business-wise. I think of recognizing it very, very quickly. I don't think anybody has a recipe for hiring perfectly. We usually look at quite a bit of stuff, but
I got a new one. Manual labor, played team sports, no college.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I just don't like to.
No, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, I'd rather, with the way things are going on now in this world, I'd rather hire a bag boy at a grocery store that's been there for the last 4 years than a kid that gets out of college and walks through my door and says, I want $100,000.
Yeah, they're fucking nuts.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying those are the topics, but like, I like the kid that pushed around a lawnmower. I saw a meme this morning that had a guy pushing a lawnmower in 1982, and it said, "This is the old GoFundMe." Like, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like old, that manual labor, and the guy who understands how important it is to be on a team, and things like that. But if
I think people are gonna, at some point, we're just all waiting for it, gonna get punched in the throat.
Ugh.
You know, just it is what it is, and I trust me. I know no matter what happens, I will be nimble and maneuver and
I love that.
Yeah. I just trust me. And it takes a lot to get to a place where you trust you.
Yeah, you're in that oh fuck stage for a while.
I'm still in that oh fuck stage.
Yeah, no, it's that stage is no matter what. If you take everything from me tomorrow, next year at this time, I'll be back to where I am. I'm 100% confident.
Yeah, I'm resilient. I've showed my resilience in the past to myself. I'm not saying that I'm an example to everybody, but I'm not going to lose because I'm not going to allow myself to lose.
I love it. That's the mentality to have. I mean,
I'll tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a quick story. One of those times when I started do this training program, my old agency basically told me you're not doing it anymore. And I'm like, but guys, I've been doing it for like, maybe a year and a half, 2 years now. And it's like really making a big difference. Like, we don't give a fuck. You're not doing it.
Can you just back up for a second? Like, tell me how, so you're basically training outside of the arena of.
When you're a cop, they own you. They can write a policy or directive or an SOP. They own everything you do. I promise you. And as soon as you don't submit to the ownership that you're basically their property, they will come and they will fucking cut your throat, hang you, and do everything they can to fuck you over. Some people are fortunate enough to work in an agency where there's not a lot of friction and you can essentially.
Like the one you're in now.
Well, I'm not a cop anymore.
Oh, I
retired.
You're done.
Yeah,
with
I've been done
okay.
for 8 years now.
Because I was trying to figure out, there was a lot of playback.
I couldn't act this way as a police officer.
I was going to say, okay.
Well, dude, I have to have the hard conversations, and to my detriment, and I'm paying significant dues on behalf of everybody else, which is fine. I've accepted that. Believe me, folks, I pay significant dues. All you got to do is use a little Google. You'll see the fucking turmoil that we face at times. It's fucking bullshit. But, again, when I don't want to say enemy because I don't see them as enemies, but when your adversary or somebody who's trying to run interference is an emotionally charged, politically agendaed thing, and they have, unlimited resources, the fight gets very dirty. It's like when you talk to these special forces people and they talk about fighting these terrorists, they're religiously charged lunatics. That there's no middle ground to meet on.
They're in dresses, sandals, and on methamphetamines.
They're nuts,
Yeah.
right? Like, so like you're gonna go strap a bomb to yourself. You're committed.
Exactly.
Go blow people up, right? So that's a difficult adversary at times. Doesn't mean I'm gonna stop, but I was told that I couldn't do this anymore. And dude, I had a lot going on. Like, I had opened a barbershop, which was that was a good lesson learned there. Funny on that one, but I'm not gonna go into that for this story.
I was going to say, your hair is perfect.
Thanks, man. I get cut once a week.
Nice.
Yeah, keep it fresh. Big a long story short, I was in debt up to my eyeballs. These courses that I was teaching, not only were doing great things for the world, but they essentially just helped me float and pay these debts off as I went along. Now I didn't have it. So at the time, my girlfriend, I think I might have had a kid. I might have my oldest at the time. And so I came home and she's like, I went and had a meeting and I literally walked in with into this office. Hundreds and hundreds of pages of testimony from people just in the first 2 years of how it changed their life, the training, what it meant. And I realized in the first minute that they didn't give a fuck. Their decision had been made. And there was no sense in even trying to talk to them. But I went home and I said to my wife, and dude, they just talked to me like such a piece of shit. None of this stuff mattered. It was all about self-interested. They didn't give a fuck about me. I had answers for their concerns and they're like, we don't give a fuck. They're basically like, well, we're not doing that. Right. So it's just this whole big thing.
Straight control, right?
It was a nightmare, dude.
Oh,
and
sorry to hear that, bro.
It's okay. Listen, actually,
all happened for a reason.
Yeah. So, my wife said, I came home and I told her what had happened. She was my girlfriend at the time, maybe fiance, I don't know. And I said, this is what happened. She goes, what are you going to do now? And I said, I thought about that on the way here. 10 minutes from my house to where I worked. I had to go on an off-duty day to go have this meeting. And I said, well, I have two options. I could lay on the floor, stare at the ceiling, and feel bad about myself. Or this kid I went to high school with got into real estate, and looks like he's doing pretty good. I'm going to give him a call and see what he says. And dude, I got to tell you, I think in 3 days I was in real estate school. And I remember hearing from somebody, you won't have dude, I was desperate for money. I was in bad shape. I had to have $20 to give my wife to go get her nails done. I felt terrible about it. She would have been pregnant. I was thinking about getting my nails done.
Those are the best lessons, though, when you're fucked.
Bro, I would sit there and hold my head at the table, and I'm like, I had to ask my father for $5,000. My father was not the type of guy that wanted to part with. I knew he would help me, but I knew I had to go through some fucking boot camp of
Yeah.
getting my fucking like I had to hear it from
More
him.
difficult than the
Oh, dude, I was like-
meeting you were gonna have the week before.
My parents are the type of people that like if they do something for you, you owe them 20 times over, or like you better never forget what I did for you. Like, dude, my parents offered to pay for my the first baby shower, my first kid. You know, like $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
And my mother made sure she told us what she did for us for about 2 years. And I said to her, I go, you know what, Ma? Honestly, I wish I would have never fucking done it because I haven't heard about how much I owe you for 2 fucking years on $5,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm gonna pay you back for it. My father actually offered to pay for the next one or something we did. And he was gonna pay for it. At this time I had money again.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, really never had money. I started making somebody have some success, and I'll go back to the real estate story in a second. But we were at a restaurant. We decided to have a small one. He goes, "We're gonna pay for it," and I went, "You're not paying for it." And he's like, "No, I am." I go, "I already paid for it. I didn't give you the opportunity to pay for it." Like, and we could have used it, right? It's probably $1,000.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, "You're not doing it." He goes, "Well, I don't understand why." I go, "Because the last time you bought something for us, we had to hear about it for 3 fucking years. You're not allowed to buy shit for us anymore. I'm not doing it. It's not worth it because you don't give to give. You give with an expectation of having something in return." And so anyway, I had to ask my father for that money. I'll never get him saying, he's like, "I don't understand. You've been a cop for 11, 12 years. You make $100,000 a year. How do you have no money?" And so he never understood that. But I needed that money bad. And like, it just paid off. Like essentially it got us to the next month. I remember hearing from somebody like, "Hey, I didn't have my first real estate sale for 6 months."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck, dude." Like, bro. And dude, I still went out every weekend. I came to the office. I was working. Nobody else was there. I would ask the guy I was working with, who's one of my really good friends now, Rob Zakansky. And if you drive in New Jersey, you'll see his signs everywhere. It says Rob sells New Jersey. He's got every fucking billboard in the state. So, you know, dude, he was actually floating me the fees. I didn't know you had to pay fees to be a realtor. It costs money to be a realtor.
Yep.
$400 a month, which is a lot of money for me at that time. And so I was like, "Bro, you have any open houses?" I thought I could go to an open house and people would like work with me or buy the house from me and I'd get the piece of the commission. I needed so bad, dude. Every weekend I was doing this. I was spending an ungodly amount of time. I had not touched alcohol. I mean, I was just focused. Dude, for 6 months, they were right. For 6 months, I didn't sell a house. And I sold my first house December 23rd. I started real estate school in like June. I sold my first house December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. And I was able to buy a couple gifts for my kid, and like just a few things, like a couple $100 here and a couple $100 there. And then I actually owed Rob so much money. And I took that first commission. I peeled off like $200-300 from it, maybe for myself. And the first commission was like, I don't know, $3,000, $3,200. And I went back and I gave it to him in cash. And I was like, "Hey man, I can't live with the thought that I owe you money."
Yeah, no.
And me taking it for myself when you've floated me along the whole time. And he actually said to me, I'll never forget this. That's why I love the guy so much. He goes, "You know how many people owe me money?" And I go, "I don't know." He goes, "A lot." He goes, "And you're the first person that's ever walked up to me and handed me the money back that they owe me." He's like, "I didn't expect to get this money back from you." I go, "I can't live with myself." And you know what's crazy, dude? I think the following year, I sold, I don't know, I probably sold 8 houses the following year. And that money was significant.
Yep.
Dude, it changed my life because I remember getting my first check for like 16 grand. And that literally knocked off like a credit card. And I remember depositing like 16,000. It was a huge sale. It was like an $850,000 sale.
It's a huge confidence builder too.
Bro, I remember like depositing that in the account and like waiting for it to clear and like literally just transferring over to like my American Express and paying it off. And I like emotional about it. Like, oh my God. And then like getting another one for $5,000, like just dumping it into the fucking debt. I remember like a year later, I was like, "Yo, we're debt free." And like I've cleared up like $64,000 in debt, which was a lot for a guy.
It's a lot of debt for anybody because that 64, if you weren't taught right, ends up being 250. Right?
So I remember, you know, like the following year we had following year I actually started winning awards in real estate. And then a friend of mine came to me and he's like, "Hey, you know, this house and his family, it's a, you know, somebody needs to this kind of guy Zakansky is. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a great renovating house, right? So it's a flip, essentially. Now, I don't like flipped houses. I want to advise everybody in the world, don't touch flipped houses at all. Don't ever buy a flipped house. You're out of your fucking mind if you do. Do not buy a flipped house. You can buy a house that needs to be renovated and do it yourself, but don't ever buy a flipped house. You're out of your goddamn mind. I used to do videos like find a flip Friday, right? Like we go out and just do videos on why you shouldn't buy a flipped house. Anywho, So Rob comes and I'm like, hey man, I think I got one on the line. Can you take a look at it? I might have the money for it, and we can go in 50-50. And so we went there and he set up the deal, and there was like $100,000 on the bone in that house. And he said, it's like a week went by and I was like talking to him about it. He's like, you want the deal? Do you want the whole thing? He's like, it's your deal. He's like, I just came there as a consultant and you're a friend of mine. And I'm like, to really use it. He's like, dude, fucking take it. He's like, take it. He just set up the price. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I think I can do everything else on my own. He's like, dude, take it. If you need anything, let me know. I'll give my resources. I never used any of his people, but dude, he walked away from essentially 50 grand. And the crazy thing is my father and I were renovating. So
that's why he is where he is today.
No shit, dude. And if you meet this guy, he's one of the most amazing human beings in the world. And
I love that.
My father and I were renovating this thing in the middle of the summer. Fucking hot, no air conditioning, right? We're in this house. I ended up renting it for a couple of years and then I sold it ultimately. But I didn't forget my father going, now I was educating nonstop. I knew about taxes and incentives, why I should hold the house.
Yeah.
20% versus capital gains tax. I was like even considering living there to defeat the capital gains tax for 2 years. That was a fun one to try to explain to my wife.
Yeah.
She was like, she's like, well, no, it wasn't even that. We were supposed to be like, now we're having some success. And so I'm like, hey, we can like buy a house for like $500,000 and like, be like live in like a nicer neighborhood and like we'll get like something like 2,300, 2,400 square feet. We were living half a house. Dude, when I moved to my house where I'm at now, which is 5,200 square feet, not that it's huge. I mean, it's not like, I have friends now that are quadrillionaires. So like, it always, and I had a lot of thought back then about it as well, but dude, we left 1,000 square feet. It was me, 3 kids and my wife and half of my fucking house that I owned. And we went from 1,000 square feet to 5,200 square feet. I remember the first night I stayed there, I needed water. I'm like, the fridge is fucking far, dude. Like, I used to get up and take 4 steps, hit the fridge, come back to bed.
Yeah.
Now the fridge is like, dude, it's a walk. It's a 10, 15 second walk to go get a water. But I remember going home and I'm like, hey, we're not going to move yet. But anyway, my father said to me, I'll tell you 2 things real quick and then we'll go back to a lot of this stuff. Because I want to paint a little bit picture of like, believe me, there's a lot of pain behind what we're sitting in today. But I said to my father, we're in the living room of this house and he's doing the electrical work. He's an electrician. And he goes, hey, what do you think this house is worth now once we're done? And I said, this much. He goes, oh. I go, but I'm gonna hold it and rent it. He goes, you ever think of just selling it and taking the money? And I said to my father, Dad, that's exactly what you would do. And that's the problem. Anybody in our neighborhood would do exactly what you think. You're going to take this money and run. I go, there's a lot more meat on the bone. There'll be a growth in value. Because, oh, well, all right. I don't know. I just saying, like, that's a lot of money. And dude, after tax, it's been like $70,000, right? So I'm like, to my father, it's like the lottery. But I'm thinking differently now. And I'm like, Dad, I'm not. You're talking about these short-term gains. And then the last thing I have is we were in my 2-family house in the backyard. I'm doing like yard work, right? AirPods in or earbuds in, listening to like a book because I couldn't pay for a landscaper to do stuff myself, but I was just educating. So my father said, I said, hey, just have a conversation where I go, hey, we start house shopping soon. He goes, oh, where are you going to shop at? I go, we're looking at something like, like in the 700-800 range. And dude, I was like, maybe like the next year and a half. And my father was like, yeah, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Oof.
Yeah. And I went and told my wife at the time, and I was like,
now it's on. Now it's on.
It wasn't even that. It wasn't on. And she was like, you fuck him. And I'm like, you fuck him is right. And dude, I'll never forget, like year and a half later, we're having the inspection at my house. And my father's like, I can't believe it. It's unbelievable.
My mom came to visit me in Florida, probably about 12 years ago. And she came in, she walked into my house. She goes, you're selling drugs again. I go, Mom, get in the car. I'm going to show you the office. Like, because she had never come down to visit me. And, she got real sick 2 years ago. Her husband's one of the most amazing guys on earth. And so isn't she. She was close to death and she fought through it. And we have a successful, healthy, good family unit now between, my mom, my stepdad, and, my family. And we sold their house in Boston. They came down and they have a beautiful house there now. And, now she's like she's super proud of me and like really happy. And she's like involved. She like likes to be around my community and like tell everyone how much of like, she brings cookies and tells everyone, oh, I can't believe he did this. I'm so proud of him. You know, it's like a big deal for her now. But until she understood it really, she just, it was hard.
Yeah. They don't know. No perspective, dude.
Yeah. I mean,
they've been told we all were told our whole lives.
I was voted most likely to be on fucking Jerry Springer in high school. Like that's people's image of me. Like how I was just no focus, no love towards others, just a taker. Just wanted things the easy way. And, you know, my business mentor now is a guy named JP, super successful guy. And, you know, he's taught me like just the basics, like just learning the basics of business. You start to figure out a lot on your own. Right. So like when someone sits you down and they're like, hey, you know, you need to really take your time on this transaction. And for the first 5 years I was open, I was not allowed to spend $3,000 in my business without calling him and talking through it to make sure it was the right decision.
Good.
It was amazing. I learned so much because we would just like talk through issues and he'd find other solutions and he'd give me resources.
Right.
And like your buddy said, the resources are the most valuable thing ever, right? When we first started in business, and we have a lot in common, like the mortgage business, that business, it was a go hustle, cutthroat in some directions, loving in others, right? And building that community of like go-to people is so important. Right now, I need something, I know who to call. And that minimizes time and effort and cost. Back then, you're trying to figure shit out. You're calling everyone. You're getting taken advantage here. It's there, right? I mean, I don't know if you...
The pain's brutal, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm part of a mastermind group now. And
what group is it?
Founders Mastermind. So it's a small group, 85, 90 guys. I'm going to another one in, I actually got, so dude, here, I'll give you some, for me, when I go there, I don't go there an introverted. I'm not an introverted person to begin with. I graduated class clown. Like I was a fucking, that guy too, right?
Something else we have in common.
Yeah. Did you graduate class clown?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. No, mine's official, brother. It's in a fucking book. You pull the Woodbridge High School fucking 99 book. You'll see my ass in there, class clown. Anyway, so for me, I'm not introverted, and when I go there, I play musical chairs because there's like usually one of the events. I'll have 50, 60, 70 people at the event. But dude, I'm just trying to chop it up with everybody, and I don't do that with the intention of what can I get out of this?
Capitalizing.
What can we exchange? We're all here for a reason.
50-50.
We're all here for a reason. So I don't know if I have anything to offer to you, but what a lot of these guys, and dude, they're fucking fantastic, and girls, you know, listen, there's maybe 5% ego, but outside of that, because I thought there'd be a lot more ego, there's not a lot of ego. People are just like, yeah, I will give you 2 hours of my time. But the resources that I have gotten so far, my one friend, James, he'll be at my house tomorrow. I got to give credit where credit's due. I know James now. I've been the first time in February when I joined the group. He saved my butt twice already. Big time. I'm talking about 6-figure butt saving. And he's like, oh, you guys need a guy for that? And I'm like, he's like, I have the best guy. What I'm saving to pay the monthly fee to be part of that group, on the pain of having to learn this.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the Street Cop podcast, do me a favor, just give us a rating and a review. We don't ask for anything else other than a review, and it helps us tremendously.
So I have a buddy, actually, you might know him, Lou Velozzi, ATF guy, friends with Jason, speaks with his group.
I think I've met him.
He's amazing. And his resources are crazy inside the DA, ATF, FBI. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but, Testosterone, which is the business that I'm in, as well as, overall health, is in the same controlled substance as Xanax, class 3. So you get your script for Xanax, you take your whole monthly script, you die of Xanax, take testosterone, you take a 10 cc bottle, you're going to be angry, but it's in the same control. And they did that to, in my opinion, it happened a long time ago, but it hasn't been moved out of that because they're trying to demasculate as many people as they possibly can. That's just my opinion. We can move past that, but testosterone is it's a real drug. We can talk about that in a second. But so I'm in a bind because they changed everything to telehealth, right, during COVID. And then I shut down all of my office across the US. I open up all these telemedicine facilities.
Had to, right? You had to pivot.
I had to pivot or I would have gone out of business.
Right, correct. Same thing happened here.
I pay $500,000 in licensing in all states, DEA registered for all my physicians.
God damn.
Interstate medical licensing compact. I'm one of the only facilities in the country that's involved in that. That means I can break borders in 23 states. I go to the T's to get everything done perfectly. And then about 4 months ago, the DEA says, we're wiping that all out. You need to have brick and mortars. You can do this, that, and the other. Wow. So I call Lou up and I'm like, I'm shitting my pants. And he's like, I got the guy for you. So I call this company up, and amazing company, great people. And they have basically people that used to work with the agencies all work there, and they basically mitigate risk, help with issues. They help pro football players that do stupid things, get out of them. Like it's like go call Sal type of thing. It's like, they're unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Well, they assigned me to the ex-national director of the DEA controlled substances for the United States and fix the whole thing, like basically help me through the whole entire thing, find where I need to be and do the whole 9 yards. Without that guy,
I know.
I'm mangled. So like those relationships that you build, you never know who you're talking to. Like slow down, whether the guy maybe doesn't look the right way, don't judge.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna tell you something about that in a second.
And fucking slow down and talk to people. And that person might, and build a good, foundation. You don't have to be best friends with a dude, but don't be arrogant.
Oh, dude, you got let me tell you something. You want to talk about, you think you're hot shit, you'll get your booty spanked in a second. Go to a room with people who are really hot shit, who don't even think they're hot shit.
Oh, it's bad.
And then you're gonna, it's fantastic. It really, first group I went to, I came back and I was like, they're like, how was the 2 days? And I'm like, I literally got humble pie shoved down my fucking throat and pushed down with a fucking broomstick. Because the minute you think you're hot shit, go hang out with dudes making $200 million a year. So what's crazy is the first group I go to, it's in New York City. And dude, I'm fucking so dumb because I just found out, I'm sad that I missed this, that one of the guys, they went to Marquee that night, which is a club in the city, and he dropped 100 racks on bottles. And like, dude, your boy here doesn't fucking experience that in my life. I mean, I live a little bit of a better, like I can buy fast passes at Disney, right? Like that's about as good as it gets for me. I have new cars and nothing like crazy, but I live a better life than I once did. And then you got guys dropping 100,000 on bottles. I just wanted to experience that. I'm all about the experience in life. But anyway, and this was a dude who was trying to get fancy. He's just like, bro, I got it. Let's go fucking party. Well, anyway, as they're going around the room, I hear a guy, my friend Alex, who wasn't my friend at the time. He talks about he's like, I do TikTok stuff. I do this and I do that. And I thought, I'm going to talk to that guy. And he looks like a hippie. You're not coming to my 4th of July party because oh, really? Well, if you're not a piece of shit tomorrow and you're going to be there, I'll introduce Alex Kidd. So I go up to him on the...
You sound excited.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm not coming now.
So I go to see Alex, and I said, hey, man, I heard you in your introduction. I do fucking TikTok. We got a few bangers going. We're trying to work on our content. We're just trying to chop it up. And we're shooting the shit. And like for 15 minutes, we're like serving food. I'm like, hey, bro, your boy worked out this morning. I've been fasting for 16 hours. I got to get some of that cheese in my fucking belly or I'm going to fucking die.
Yeah.
I get hemiplegic migraines, and I'll fucking be on the floor in here. And he's like, oh, dude. So then like the next break I go, he comes over to me and I'm like, now we're chopping it up. Crazy shit, dude. I don't know how much of this I can say, but he then invited me to another mastermind. That this other mastermind, keep it very vague. It's $50,000 a month to be a part of. I'm obviously not joining that. It's $50,000 a month. And in this mastermind, I want to keep it very vague. There are very, very, very successful people. Like, right?
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So he's like, hey, man, you want to come to this thing with me? And I'm like, why, though, dude? He's like, well, first of all, these guys, they're not what you think they are. They're like the nicest. He's like, we're not going to go, like, it's going to be this, you got to go to another country for it. Because they all have these insane estates. And it's not like we're going to go there and like be broads all over the place and partying and boozing. Like they're going to be chopping it up. Everybody's there for a reason. And I said, dude, I kind of give you a little context, like where I'm at. And he's like, it's not where you're at. It's who you are and what I see. Because you're the first guy that walked up to me here. He's like, look how I look. You're going to see him. He's got a long ponytail. Looks like a hippie. He goes, and you just didn't judge me. Because I could judge constantly the way he's like wearing like almost like, he almost looks like, gives you a feel of like the Aerosmith singer.
Yeah.
That's how he looks a little bit. And he goes, but I can bring somebody every time they do the thing. He's like, I want to bring you.
Oh, so he was a member?
I don't know if he's a member, but I think he does work for them.
Okay.
But he's allowed to bring somebody.
Which is actually probably
they
better.
love him. Or they love him. Like they trust him because the things are he records and he does like so he's very, very well trusted. He's in the group and he's like, look, dude, a guy like you, that's what he told me. He goes, a guy like you, I get one shot to bring you into this place. He goes, but the way you talk to everybody, I see you floating around this room, how you talk and chop it up at everybody. He goes, you hook up with one of these guys, they're regular dudes. You're never going to know in a million years how wealthy they are. There's like they're significant.
Because they have nothing to prove.
Right. He goes, you'll just never know. He goes, and then he's like, dude, the next day you're on a fucking yacht, chopping it up. They invite you out and you're fucking, and they're going to start giving it to you. Like all these guys need to see is that you have the potential and they'll fucking indoctrinate you.
Well, I mean,
and by the way, guess what? I'm going and I have no expectation, but I'm not going, right? I'm not going to walk home if I didn't have him like crying. Like, what an opportunity.
So what's interesting is this. I learn from people. I can barely read, right? Major issues with paying attention in school. Skipped a lot of school, you know.
Oh, dude, I wasn't even there.
So I learned a long time ago that the fastest way to learn from something, in my opinion, is to find someone who's good at it and see their success behind it and make sure it's genuine.
Right. Yes.
And I go up to that person and I say, hey, you know, can I buy you a cup of coffee? I see that you do this. This person could be 15 years old and be great at who the hell knows, or 75 years old and teach me how to tie a fly for fly fishing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I've conquered a lot of amazing things that way in a very short period of time. You know, I travel the whole country. I'm a big bow hunter. And the guy that I hunt the most with, his name's KC.
I was going to say Cameron Haynes. I was going to say, get the fuck out of here.
No, well, John was just on his show.
Let's just stop for a second. You keep referring to your brother-in-law. I didn't want to make
John Bernthal, the Punisher.
Yeah. I didn't want to make this podcast about your fucking brother-in-law.
No. And so yeah, John's Jackie's.
How are you guys related?
Here. So Jackie, my fiance, he's married to her sister.
Oh, that's cool.
And then Jackie's uncle is Kurt Angle.
No shit, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, her family's amazing. Her dad's really cool. John and Aaron, Jackie's sister, they're like amazing people. So John is the type of celebrity that when you're in New York with him and he's filming The Punisher, he'll like go to the gym an hour early to make sure all the kids at the YMCA get some time with him.
That's awesome.
And
amazing.
Like and he goes about life just so kind and so respecting, and just doesn't want to leave anyone behind.
I get it.
Right? Dude,
it.
he's just fucking the best dude ever. And goes out of his way for my events. He comes to my events and does like so much for me and Jackie, and he's taught me so much. Him and I are both very different, and we mentor each other in different arenas. Like you say, hey John, how much money? He goes, I have no idea. Like he just doesn't care about that.
Right.
Right. But he just knows if he works really fucking hard as an actor and goes harder, because he goes harder than anyone I know, works out harder than anyone I know, he's a monster.
Yeah.
That he will be successful and his kids will be proud of him and his wife will be happy. And that's his goal. So anyways, I learned that to be the best that you can be in things, you really need to have that humility, right? So if I wanted to come to you, Dennis, and say, hey, Dennis, I'm thinking about going into the police world, right? I can see how effective you are. Like, can you give me like an hour of your time to help me just understand what I'm getting into? And you might help me make a decision if I'm going in the right direction or not. But like me reading a book, you can't talk back to a book. The book can't talk back to you. You can't ask the book questions. Like you're accomplishing shit like that. And the beauty of it is that like, I'm surrounded by some very successful people, super successful people, right? And I learned this, and no one's ever told me this, but if I walk up to someone who I know who's a billionaire and I have contact with them and I ask them, hey, I'm stuck here. Can you help me? That boosts their ego. They're not going to show it, but it makes them happy that you're watching them, you're paying attention to them, and that you're learning from them. And guess what? They don't want anything but to help you at that point, right? So that's the beauty of it. But guess what? No one has the humility to go and fucking do that shit because they're like, oh, this guy's going to judge me. This guy doesn't need to judge you, homie. Like,
he ain't worried about nothing no more.
Exactly. But it's not even the guy who's a billionaire. It's the guy who, like my buddy Casey I was talking about. I came to Florida. I hunted in New Hampshire. You hunt in Florida, it is the most dangerous, hardest place in the country to kill an animal. I spent 100 days in the woods there a year. And he taught me everything. Guess how old he was? 12. I was 20.
That's cool.
We're still friends to this day. He taught me everything, how to spot and stalk, how not to get eaten by a fucking alligator, where the snakes are, the whole 9 yards. I don't have that in Maine and New Hampshire when I'm worried about like the scariest things, a bull moose. You know what I mean?
Right.
Down south, things are trying to kill you. So it's amazing. And those learning from people has just been huge. It's like between that and the judgmental side of things, I've been trying to break into we've just really not conquered, but we've really been respected in the military community. Like we are just, it's amazing. From every foundation that supports the military to everyone in the military and all the veterans are using us. We're onboarding roughly about 5,000 new patients a year, 6,000 new patients a year, and 70% are in that arena. So my next thing, I love this community. The first responder community is big to me because they have so much gratitude. It's like a group of people that when you affect one person, it grows inside the community. So my next thing was to get into the policing, first responder, EMT, firefighter. My best friend's drives the chief of police in Boston around. I've gotten in there. Amazing guy, John Morris. He's helped me get into that community. The police community is a hard community to get into. So I get judged real hard.
Well, because they're constantly like under the magnifying glass. And dude, even me, where I'm a safe place for everybody to come and be themselves and, close the doors and grow and get better. We've even been penetrated by the fucking state here. They're fucking gone bonkers after us over nothing because we curse. It's like that wild, dude.
Is it really?
It's wild. So you got to be, that's why there's a lot of like the trust. They don't trust a lot of people because of what happens when they do. I've even tried to like work with, you learn this lesson. So anybody who's listening, I tried to spend time with some of these media platforms and like try to help them understand what we're doing. And dude, they just spun it.
Yeah.
Like we're the fix that everybody wants. We're literally going to change the whole thing and make it right. And they will find.
I love that confidence, dude. Like that's the way to be right
it's
there.
Proof of the pudding.
That's it.
Guy literally yesterday sent me a message on Instagram. The first thing I woke up to today is like, yo, I just want to let you know, like, you are changing the entire game.
It's the best.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of dues paid with that, but essentially the advice is you can't even trust them.
Well, I mean, when I spoke in San Diego, I spoke twice, and the first go around, I wear a suit when I speak. They're all in street clothes, right? And, and the first thing was, who's this douchebag up here trying to sell us something, right? So I get up on stage the second time after not being successful the first time and say, hey guys, I know no one wants to hear from a sponsor. Like, you guys know I might have paid to be here. I didn't, but like I just said that to break down the walls. My brother-in-law came to that event as a guest and just to hang out with the guy because he loves the policing community. So it was a big event. And I got up on stage and I said, hey guys, I walked around 20 minutes before I spoke and I asked guys what their testosterone levels were. And everyone's like 700, 800, 900, 500. And the sad part is that no one really knew what their testosterone level, because that's their total testosterone, right? And the free testosterone is your bioavailable testosterone. And there's things that can interfere inside your body to make your total convert to your free, like your sex hormone body globulin. And I got very detailed with them. And after that, we had 200 flyers up on the thing, and we had a big booth set up. And the fact that I got like real humble with them and explained to them and educated them a little bit changed the whole dynamic of the entire event for us. We signed up like hundreds of people there. It was amazing. And that was the first, it takes time in different arenas to find that niche. But what you just said to me, I'm going to take home with me, because I never slowed down to think. I'm thinking, I'm dealing with these special forces guys that are under this crazy microscope. Not really, because they're not in our community. You know what I mean? Like they're not dealing with this party or that party. They're not,
they're not political pawns.
They're not exactly correct.
And all they do is use these. It's so sad that these politicians use the cops as a political agenda. It's fucked up.
So I never thought about that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take that with me.
Dude, you can take anything you want.
Thanks, dude.
Open book, brother. Like there's no that. When you said before about people calling and asking about getting into the police business, or the training business, me often, just like Cody spoke the way that he spoke about me, this is not some kind of game where my intention is to deceive people by planting these seeds of kindness.
Yeah.
I'm just being me. And I like being that person. And so I act with intention, but the intention is good intention. There's no, what can I get out of this? So when you probably hear from lots and lots of people who would say, yeah, the guy I'm busy. You're busy. We're all busy. Got 4 kids, right? I'm busy as fuck. Took time out and spent time with me. I mean, the girl was on the podcast 3-4 weeks ago. Who I'm very fond of, Alexandra.
Yeah, I watched it.
And I've been.
Oh no,
okay, yeah. So she's a cop and she's cooking, but her passion for cooking on her Instagram page is, it's 5,000 followers. I'm not trying to, right? And I'm like, what are you doing?
I worked hard for 5,000 followers.
Right. But dude, in the beginning I did. I mean, let me tell you something. Dude, I call her like once a week. I'm like, where you at? What do you got going on? What are you thinking about? We're giving her our resources. She's going to come in, because I told her I think what her business should do. I'm only offering suggestions. I told you, start with higher clients. Don't start at the bottom and then try to work your way up. Go shoot high. Get people that can afford it. You don't understand how much money people actually have to have a private chef come in. You're thinking about your fucking friends who can't afford dick.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I know people, like I said, dropped $100,000 a night at Marquee. They would love to have somebody like you. You're pretty. You have a great personality. You love your food.
Trustworthy.
You're trustworthy. Like, I just need to taste your food so I can really give you some thoughts on it. If it's that, I'm a foodie.
Me too.
If it's that amazing, I'm going to tell you this is amazing. And if it's not that amazing, you got to fucking make it amazing. But I think I have never had it. What she puts into it looks like it is. So, dude, I want nothing in return. We're going to do a...
It helps you grow as a businessman so much.
I just like it in life, dude.
It's fun, dude. I'm telling you, I help people open businesses all the time for nothing.
I just like it in life. And guess what? There's nothing I can do for you, essentially, in some sense. But there's a lot I can do for her, because where you might be where Rob might be, and I know...
You just helped me 2 seconds ago.
In some sense, right? Like, even Dekansky. Like, Dekansky, when we sit down, dude, there is a trade-off. Rob will give me advice on how he's thinking, and I give him advice on life. Because he punted his entire 20s and pretty much half his 30s to build what he's built. So he missed a lot of direction on trial and error of relationships, and he's a fan.
That's what it's all about, is those relationships.
I mean, the sense of people don't realize that it takes a lot of really disciplined actions to find yourself in a healthy, successful marriage or personal relationships with people. It takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah, I have a lot of people I care about quite a bit, and those people have been a lot of work. It's been a lot. My business partner and I have been in business together for 15 years. We've only had one fight in 15 years.
It's a good choice in the beginning to stick with him. Then
I mean, he's brilliant. He's super smart. He's like an attorney. He's not an attorney, but he picks up from my shortfalls. Now, when it comes to relationship building and things like that and growing like that, he knows where to stop and where I pick up. And it's happened without even discussing it. You guys talked about Mel Chansey coming on here, right? And Mel was the former youngest president in the history up until recent of the Hells Angels. Grew up in Chicago. I'm going to tell you an amazing story about him. So Mel was eventually taken down by a gentleman named Chris, who grew up very close to him in Chicago, and ended up doing 14 years on a RICO. Mel did.
Wow. Found
God in prison. And Mel and I become super close. He's in a position right now where he can't come on right away until the final sale of the documentary comes out with $7 production. But after that, he promised me he's coming on, because we both watch your stuff together, and
it's crazy, right?
For some reason we like you, Dennis.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
I'm still flabbergasted.
And
by
I feel like you were going to invite me to the 4th of July party if I was in town tomorrow.
Dude, of course.
Yeah, no, I was kidding.
You're leaving now, right?
Yeah, as soon as we're done here, I'm hopping on a plane. I'm going.
Okay.
So
go back to this, yeah.
Mel does 14 years on this RICO and gets out. And I didn't know this until 3 years ago. Mel will hear this. And when I tell you something right now, talk about making up for lost fucking ground. Mel spent most of his daughter's life in prison.
Wow.
gets out and is the most amazing grandfather to his grandkids. Like, he drops everything for these kids. He's just a stud. And from what I understand, I didn't know Mel back then, but I actually worked for one of the other presidents of the Angels when I was growing up, and we never crossed paths. And he was a fucking savage, like a fucking savage. And well, today, Chris, who took him down, and Lou Velosi, who's Chris' partner, are Mel's two best friends. And they put him in prison for 14 freaking years. And the reason why, one of the reasons why, you know, I said to Mel the other day, well, how come? And he's like, dude, they saved my fucking life. Like, they saved his life. And he has like a long-term gratitude for those two guys. And I mean, so do I. He's like one of the best friends a guy could have. He'd drop anything for you. And a lesson like that really teaches me quite a bit. Like, you know, things might be happening in situations that you can't control at this point because you fucked up real bad, but you better embrace those situations. You better embrace them and find out like what you can make good out of it, because he sure turned some horrific shit into some really amazing stuff. And now they're doing a movie together.
The gains and the pain, right?
That's it, man. So yeah, you'll love him on here. He's
I'm
like
fucking
the most
excited.
He's amazing. He's amazing. And Chris is in Chicago, so maybe you can get them both on at the same time. You know, Chris is
that's amazing.
ATF officer. So Mel was just on John's podcast, doing the release for the movie. I hope I didn't blow it up. And no, saying I hope I didn't, you know, get ahead of anything. But we
can postpone.
No, it's fine. Yeah. I don't care. I mean, listen, I put the relationship together between the two guys. They're fine. No, it's great. I mean, one of the most things I'm the most proud of is, you know, my family, a unit, and the dynamic of people around me now. Like, it's just become amazing. Like, now I get to go to work, and I go to work for my staff. They give me the best years of their life. I don't have to do it anymore, but I love it. I go every day, aggressively. I try to be the first one there. I try to be creative and stay on top of it and not let anyone show me up still, but it gets hard. You know, guys like that in my life have just been so inspiring, and that's kind of really what it's about to me now. You know, it's been dope.
It's good, dude. What are some of the things that you use to educate yourself and continue to grow? Because I'm staring at myself across the fucking table. You're probably, how old are you now?
44.
Oh, dude. So I thought you're a little bit older than me. It's the salt and pepper hair. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're not significantly older than me, but.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. It's the gray hair, dude. Like, yeah.
Once I started making a shitload of money, I stopped caring about what I look like.
That's you don't have to
just
anymore.
kidding with you.
You ever see that? You ever see that meme, dude, where it's the old man and he's like fat and he's like making out with the girl in the water and she's a smoke show. He's like an old man. Do you ever see this one? So I'll tell people, you can find it online. It's probably the best meme that's ever been made. So it's a fat dude in like, you know, like in not a bay, but like, you know, when you like kind of wade out into the ocean a little bit, like in the Caribbean. And he's like probably like 75, fat, great, like big pot belly. And he's making out with like this 21-year-old dime fucking smoke show. So the meme says, I show this picture to my son to show him why success is so important. I also show this meme to my daughter to show her why success is so important.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, I say this. You know, I have a son from my first marriage that, you know, I kind of adopted. He was 4 when he came on. We're still super close.
Awesome.
He's super successful. And he says to me the other day, you know, I was...
How old is he?
He's 23.
Okay.
So I've been trying to work on in the car, right? Not being on the phone with my kids all the time, because like I deprive them of that like conversation. I'll pick my kid up from school and get like right on the phone.
Yeah, it's not good.
And I said to Jordan the other day, I said, you know, Jordan, I'm working on that with your sister and I'm sorry. He goes, why you shouldn't be apologizing. I said, why? He goes, I feel like a lot of my success came from listening to you on the phone all the time in the car, you know? And he's an amazing kid and I don't have to worry about him. But I told him growing up, I'm like, I'm not going to make this easy on you. And, you know, I work really hard to make sure my daughter never has to depend on a man. I'll teach her how to work right and to be driven and not get handouts. Like, you know, in her school, kids are driving Ferraris. I bought her like a one of those G20 Genesis as her first car. But like, these kids are like fucking loaded, right? And it's a public school in Florida. And I don't want to make it easy, but I also, won't allow that meme to happen.
Right. Yeah,
you
dude.
know what I'm saying? But what was the question that you asked me? You asked me
where are you educating still? Like what are there podcasts? Like tell me about books or tell me about that.
So what I've really been doing quite a bit with is I try to involve myself with like a new person or a new dynamic or a new person in a different industry, like once or twice a week. Like I'll find someone interesting and just kind of reach out. And that's been amazing for growth. Like I really dug into your podcast when Cody spoke for you guys at that seminar, and he did fantastic. And before that seminar, I actually hooked up with John Bernthal's best friend Josh Baton, who's an actor and does speaking. And Cody did some speaking stuff with him, but Josh is like, dude, you don't need me.
No,
right? He's a stud,
flawless,
and he's great with that stuff. When I speak,
he could be the best speaker I've ever seen.
Really,
Cody Alford, yeah, and he's new at it. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody speak as good as he does. He's a fucking killer, dude.
Yeah, that's great.
Dude, so we're the day before, we're hanging out, we're chopping it up, we're having dinner. I'm like, what are you gonna talk about tomorrow? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. He called me probably 15 times before that, and was like, dude, I go, Cody, just go the fuck up there, close your eyes, take a deep breath, focus on one or two people in the audience, and fucking drive it home, dude. Like that's what we do. And I was so proud of him when he was done. He's like, bro, I just fucking crushed that shit. I was
crushed.
And it's so funny, like he speaks with so much energy. And like more of the speaking that I do is based on
so smart, dude.
He's a smart kid. And he couldn't have done that as effective as he did, 3 years ago. Because he's just done so much work around himself.
Fucking smart, dude.
Yeah, he's great. And the speaking that I do is a lot different. It's like around my business. It's around business development. I do a lot of speaking with guys around business development, people that are in one industry or they're an employer. They're an employee. They want to be an employer. Like there's a recipe for that shit, right? And then you hear Cody speak and he's just like hitting you in the head with a baseball bat. Like, dude, smarten up. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy. And, we all have our thing. And I think that's his thing. He's fantastic. He's just going to continue to get better, and he's he's just at such service to others too. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's good, dude.
Yeah, I'm excited for everyone to see.
I love that motherfucker.
Yeah, he's solid, dude.
There's not many people I meet that I literally love that guy, right? Like we had a lot of people on the podcast. We've had some, we're getting there. We get some pretty decent name guests. We get, it's cool, man. And I've gotten very comfortable with, I don't know, there's a weird thing I try to explain to people. Maybe I'll just talk about it for a minute. I don't get intimidated by anybody except Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, I still get intimidated by Gary V when I happen to run into him. For some odd reason, it still gives me the jitters. But the guy changed my fucking life. I really followed a lot of things that he said. And there's a lot of...
Are you guys pretty tight?
Well, no. But so it's crazy because my wife's cousin was one of his 3 childhood best friends. So his old man, I got him out a couple speeding tickets, the past couple of years, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I actually became friends with Matt Higgins, who is his best friend or one of his best friends, and they split a jet and a helicopter together. Matt is a great dude. Matt was on Shark Tank. Matt's a fucking great guy. I mean, I am very fond of him, and Matt gets involved in our stuff a lot. And I think Matt has a real affinity for law enforcement. He worked under Giuliani, and so Giuliani's obviously he was a big cop guy.
Yeah,
and he worked under him as his was press secretary. Matt's a great guy. Matt's a Jersey. He's like a guy from this area. I don't find myself, getting intimidated like I probably once would have years ago because I spent so much time backstage with our keynotes and stuff like that. But also because I've experienced it, and I'm like, oh, it's just like we're just regular dudes, and dude, today meant a lot to me that you came here. I think sometimes we don't feel like we're worthy. And then you're telling me that this guy from the Hells Angels, the old president, this guy that we all, want to have on where you could have him, is familiar with some of the work that we're doing.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. Of course. So the one thing for me when I get invited, I don't care if it's a podcast that is as big as yours and is as well known as yours.
I don't even know it's that well known or,
listen,
it is, but you also,
or if it was some dude that's trying to grow things, I try to show up. right? Like the biggest thing I think we're lacking is I fucking hate text messages when it's something important. You can't catch a tone through a text. Things get misscrewed.
Right, yeah.
Like I hate it, right? But I get to sit here now and it's not through some virtual bullshit. I get to have a conversation with you. And you know, there's so much value in this versus like you staring at a television. And for me, it was no big deal. I was in Ohio. We just jumped over here. It was easy. And like, it was important for me to come to this because I get to really feel the whole 9 yards. The situation I just had in Ohio was a situation I've been in for a long time, but I've never been around the group of people because a lot of it was virtual. A lot of it wasn't involved. And I found out through that trip that I no longer want to be involved with that group of people. Wow. Because I got to go there and show up and feel it. Yeah. Right. Well, now I'm here and I'm like, oh shit, this is badass. Like this was worth the trip 100%. And I'm like happy I came here.
Thanks, man.
Like this place is awesome. Your staff's great. They like greeted me in the hallway. They're awesome. They're like,
they are.
What's amazing is like you meet my staff and like they're just unfucking believable, right? And then like when you have a staff member that like is a huge promoter of the organization and the leader, that's like someone who's so valuable. Like the guy behind the desk over here, like he's been amazing since the whole time I've came aboard here. Like you know, he's fantastic, and like those are the people you just don't want to let go. But I get to come here and see that. And I also learn how to, when you have something successful here, it helps me with my business. So there's some selfishness being involved as well.
That's okay.
You know what I'm saying?
It's okay. I mean, dude, I think life is about selfishness. In some, I mean, you have to sometimes, if it's there, take it, right? Like it's not that you're coming
It's hard
here.
to take it through a television screen though. That's why I'm sitting
There's
here.
no question about it. Yeah, no, but the truth of the matter is there's no question about it. And
it's still valuable. I'm just saying, like, I was honored to come on and I really wanted to come up and like my whole team, you know, Cody involved and Nick and Jason, they all spoke the world of you. It wasn't that big of a deal for us to slide.
Dude. I just like everybody so much. And sometimes I feel like I don't keep in touch enough, but I also am weirdly like, one, I'm busy, but two, I don't ever want people to think that I'm up to some kind of shenanigans of why I try. It's like, you ever experience that? You're just like, you know, like somebody will say like, and then you're like, yeah, you reach out. I'm not trying to get anything out of anybody. I just want them to know that people sometimes are on guard. Like, what are you up to? I'm like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, especially in like the police training world. It's when I first came into it. People are like, so the rest of these guys are so fucked up in this industry. This industry is horrendous. In the sense
like
that
the policing in general?
Police training
is
it's 80% pieces of shit who are in it for the money and not for the wrong reasons, and 20% of fantastic, some of the best human beings you'll ever meet in your life. So the 20% all kind of stick together. The 80 pretend to stick together, but cut each other's throats behind their backs nonstop.
Yeah,
they fucking break up. They fucking this. There's because they're fucking scumbags. And I hate to say that. I'm not saying anybody in general, but they just are. People know who they are.
Yeah, I was going to say, they know who they are.
People say, oh, this guy said this about you. I go, listen to me. That guy is punching so many boars, in the hull of his boat. It doesn't. He can say whatever the fuck he wants. She can say whatever the fuck she wants. They sink their ships on their own. We don't have to sit here and blast.
That's life in general.
But when I came into this industry and I was like, hey, you know, helping people out, other guys would call me and be like, yo, so-and-so called. He's like, wants to know what you're up to. And I'm like, up to being a good human being. Like, if we're going to fucking change this thing and, dude, you know how many fucking cops are alive today through the efforts of myself, the staff here, the instructors that we have, and the other people in this community who actually come out and do this for the right reasons? It's fucking nuts. Dude, it is nuts that right now some kid is eating breakfast with his kid, and the only reason he's there is because he took a class or got turned on to this shit. We get it nonstop. We get so much that it doesn't even impact me anymore. I'm not saying to not send me these messages, please do, but it just fuels what the most important thing for me to do is to see, dude, it fucking blows. Like, you know, business blows. Like, this is probably one of the hardest 2 to 2.5 years of my life.
When did you start this?
2012 as a hobby. I want to call it like we really started.
When did you dig in like aggressively?
Yeah, like so about 5 years ago.
5 years ago. So you have another 5 years to find out what the potential is.
No doubt. Listen, I'm not going anywhere.
No. What I'm saying is my.
Well, you refreshed me today talking about like you knew this and then he knew this and like
yeah,
you know. And dude, it's funny. Sometimes I'll meet people who I'm like, oh my god, like da da da, and they're like, wait, are you Dennis Menino from Street Cop? And I'm like,
yeah.
How about one time me and Mark Lamb, I love this story because I like breaking Mark's balls. We're at SHOT Show together. So I see like these 8 guys. And Mark's a well-known guy. You know who Mark Lamb is, right? And so I go, all right, excuse me, fucking American sheriff. Let me step off so you can fucking go take a picture with your people. And so they come over. I go, come on over, guys. And they go, can we get a picture with you, dude? And I went, do you want one American sheriff? They're like, who's that? And I'm like, oh my God, Mark, that fucking sucks, dude. Like, that's fucking awful for Mark Lamb.
Yeah, I know how it is being the cameraman, dude. Like I've sat there like for hours with John and even Mel, like, you know, cause he's just gonna, everyone knows where his life is going. You know, he's just come from the worst places to the best places. And
that's awesome.
It's been cool. So I know what it's like to sit there for an hour while you're just taking pictures of somebody. You're just like, oh God, this is.
I love it though, dude. Honestly, I like when it's not about me. Most of it. Right. Like I've had enough fill where, like, you know what I mean? Like the first time it started happening, I don't remember where it first started happening, but I don't think it was at a class. I think it was actually out in public. And so I was like, yo, can I get a picture? And like somebody asked me for an autograph. And then now I'm like, I like being the guy. Like I like putting other people up. Like I like, yo, Cody Alford, like I asked him what I was doing the whole week. I'm like, yo, take a picture of Cody Alford. He's like, dude, why the fuck? Like I want them to get the.
Yeah, he hates that shit.
I know, that's why I do it. I couldn't, once he told me he hated it, I was like, I'm crushing him all night, dude.
Yeah, that's definitely, he's probably like this motherfucker.
Oh, that's all I did to him, dude. He knew that.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing that happens, like, you know, as we're growing these businesses, is like, it's like the, like for some reason it just seems to happen. I'm sure you can relate to this, is like the more you get into the business, like the more it's really like the people around you that are growing that business, and you're just kind of steering the ship a little bit.
Where I'm at right now.
It's just the fucking best feeling in the world. Cause like you can, like that freedom of being able to.
Scary as fuck though.
It's scary, but like embrace the shit out of it because it just gets better. Like you have guys that are just, that'll surprise you. Like I have a few staff members this year that have just surprised the hell out of me. I'm like, dude, wow, that's amazing. You know, like they're just starting to get it, and it's huge. And like the community, we have something in common. Like you're saving people's lives through education, right? Through education, they're learning something because you're teaching it. And without you, they might have gotten bad information somewhere else and fucking died.
Correct.
Right?
They already got bad information somewhere else, by the way, just so we're clear. Might not. It's already there. We're recorrecting the whole system's destroyed. You ask your friend who's the cop.
Yeah.
How bad his police academy experience was.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And my dynamic is similar. Like I have these guys that get out of active duty service members, or they're veterans who have just been completely told, here, go hide in a corner and eat 90 Valium a day. Like shit like that. And their family, they're
because people don't give a fuck.
They're committing suicide. We found prostate cancer, normal walks of life, in over 35 people in the last 2 years under the age of 35.
How'd you find that?
Because we do our blood work super extensive. I sent over blood. So
we'd never get it done, dude. Remember I told we were the day it came over.
It's fine, dude.
Mediation. That's where we were.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, from 9 to 7 at night.
So our blood work's like a 28 panel pull. It tells you never get this blood work done in your entire life. These guys in their 30s wouldn't have found their prostate cancer until they were 45. Guess what? Too late.
Would have killed them.
Mangled. Like we run, you know, extensive stuff. And for the fact of like the VA not doing that after someone was in a burn pit for 6 months and their whole entire system is completely shut down and just basically gives them medication without even looking at the internal actions is just wild to me. They're like treating they're treating just on symptom of what they think is right because of the full circle from big pharma. They prescribe the drugs, big pharma pays them money, and it's just a disgusting circle, right? That's why the VA is a scary place to go a lot of times. There's other people that have great relationships with the VA, but you know, they prescribe testosterone sometimes. They give you a shot once every 14 days, right? So that's the peak and valley. No estrogen blockers. You become estrogen dominant. Like they don't give you HCG. So if you come off of your medication, your lights completely shut off and you're fucking in the dirt and you want to freaking shoot yourself.
Crazy.
And, our doctors are some of the best in the country for this stuff. I mean, and then they really educate. We really educate a lot of people, and we do a lot behind it. And the best part about my day is when I get those stories of, someone, we just found brain cancer in somebody, it was, and that's it's a horrible thing. Just like those police officers that got bad education in the beginning, but guess what? You get to help in the end. So like, those are the things that really make me coming back for more.
You know what's crazy, dude, is when you give a fuck and you're doing things for the right reasons, there are people who pretend that they are, but will run interference and try to block it for their own self-interest. It's fucking crazy. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but we are, like, there is this police accountability something in New Jersey now, right? It has zero interest in making cops better. It has zero interest in fixing the problem.
Is that a government thing? Or
It's a political thing. It's politics. So what they're going to say is they're going to say, look, we fixed the cops. Their first big move was making sure that every police department was in compliance with the Attorney General guideline to ensure there were 11. How to file an IA complaint was in 11 languages on their website. You got cops who don't. And dude, the crazy thing is, in tandem, working together to run interference for me, the only guy who is teaching appropriate case law, how to act, how to behave, and how to treat people, how to focus on more criminal apprehension, which obviously reduces crime in this country. In the state, not the country, but the state, and push their agenda of like, and dude, they wonder why nobody's even applying for this job anymore, because they don't get, like, at the end of the day, they don't give a fuck.
So
it's
they look
about
at you
them.
as a threat. They look at you almost as like a threat.
And I'm like, oh my God, they want me gone because it doesn't line up with there's not even, and again, we're back to this emotional thing. There's not even a conversation to be had. You can't say like, hey, let's all work together. They don't want to make things better.
That meeting was the best thing that ever happened to you, with them not allowing you to talk and telling you to get the fuck out of here.
Dude, how many times we just like, hey, like, why don't we just lay the swords down and it's like, basically we're just told, go fuck yourself. We have an agenda to push. We have endless funds, and we'll just fuck with you because there's nobody to fuck. You can't go complain.
Yeah, but your success just shows that shit doesn't make a difference. Like, dude, I've like seen your comments, like I've seen your stuff, and like you have to go like fucking foot all the way down in the gas and this stuff because if not, no one else is gonna do that shit. They're fucking scared.
You gotta have courage, dude.
Yeah, tell me about it. When I started in this industry, it was 15 years ago. I had like, it was nuts. It was steroids then. Now it's like real fucking medicine.
Dude, I think every guy at my I think half the conversations when I went on that retreat to Mykonos was about the testosterone treatments from all those guys, like how to change their lives.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's like, and I'm not coming off the gas. We're doing a lot of stuff. Like I had I was going to like do stuff for the VA and this, that, and the other. Guess what they said? Fuck you. You're doing it too good. You're doing it right. You're helping too many people. That's basically the response I got. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, they're wild, dude.
It's nuts. And we have a lot of the same issues, in that arena. But the thing is that like, they'll have to kill me. You know what I mean? Like I'm still going.
Bro, I said this, we did a podcast episode addressing that, like just not going anywhere. And you can play all the games you want. And of course, the 8% of chiefs of police in New Jersey who their subordinates fucking loathe. So just a little blood in the water. Old Den got kicked down to one knee. Everybody, a couple counties jumping on it. They want to get their agenda out there, get rid of me as fast as possible. Folks, they tried this shit before. I am not going anywhere. I'll give it away for free.
How about the places that do support you? Do you have agencies that do support you?
Yeah, they do. But like, dude, people just, again, it's one of these things where like they're looking at, and dude, I don't sit there and say to myself like, where is everybody? I just know I'm on my own. Right, I'm not waiting for a rescue boat to come. I just know I'm on my own. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be fine. And dude, I just know that the support is a matter of time. And this is all part of my story that I get to tell when I'm 85.
Yeah. Tell me.
Just part of it. Actually, in some weird way, I kind of like it because it can make my story good when I'm 85. Because they will come and go, I will not, and I will always show up as long as cops are showing up. If they get rid of police work, then I'm done. But as long as there's gonna be police officers, I'm going to show up. People said to me, well, would you ever teach in Spokane or these places that are fucking nutty, right? And I go,
dude, that place was fucking nuts.
They're nuts. Like in these fucking up northwest part of the country. What's the other places there? Portland, right?
Portland, Maine? Yeah.
No, Portland, Oregon, not Portland, Maine.
Portland, Oregon? That's where.
Well, dude, like this is insane completely like they're trying to like make a new country.
Dude, every police officer there was 100 pounds overweight when I was in Spokane.
They're killing them, dude. Go to the NYPD.
It was brutal, man. I was like, how the fuck? And they don't even.
They're doing 80, 90 hours a week. They're killing these guys. Go to NYPD. Everybody's fat. Why? They're sleeping in their police cars, dude. They're sleeping in they get off a shift. They go to their personal vehicles. They sleep and come back to work.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
The end game as being a police officer is like helping the community and enjoying your pension.
Just kills you, dude.
Enjoying your pension.
You know,
I read a statistic that like 25% don't live past like 55 years old. And I'm like, Jesus, that sucks, because now that, they didn't enjoy anything really, they just suffered. So it's like, why not figure out a way to be healthy and enjoy that pension and maybe change your mindset, like what you offer, right? Maybe spend some time, there has to be some answers.
There are a lot of outside, and the worst forces are the inside forces. You're in a profession that is dictated by government. So there actually is no reward. Yeah. I'm saying, like,
I get it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, to get to the top doesn't mean you have to be the best. The problem is when you're not the best and you're at the top, everybody else has to follow your complete misdirection. And when you have a brain and some common sense, we'll call it uncommon sense, that's the problem. You got people with brains in the rank and file going, what the fuck are we doing here? What are you talking about? Where's your courage? Where's your leadership? Right? Like, what are we talking? Like, how are you letting us fucking hang like this out here? And that makes it very so at some certain point, you can look at your salary going, I get what the why is, but is it worth the $65,000 a year to deal with this bullshit, this fucking nonsense from these people?
I knew that the policing world was in a really bad place about a year ago when I was in California, and John took me to Best Buy or someplace, and I had like this fucking arrow that said $800. There was an arrow going down, and then $800 an arrow going up, and you could walk into that Best Buy and steal that shit under $800 and walk out the door. They do nothing. This was a misdemeanor. I'm like, how the fuck is that even real life?
I know.
That's like real shit.
I know.
People out there, I'm telling you right now, it's like real stuff. You can go rob someone's store and walk out the door, and
no repercussions.
And no repercussions. What is that teaching this world? What is that teaching our kids? What is that teaching like anything? That is so fucking nuts.
Yeah, well, that's where parents have to come in and really, be involved in their kids' lives. But dude, the crazy shit is, I saw a fucking meme yesterday. It had a really in shape NYPD cop and a really fat dude. And one side said, like, a really fat NYPD cop. And these are real life guys. Like, one guy, this guy has no problem transitioning to the private sector. This guy isn't leaving. Who do you want in your fucking rank and file? And dude, you can go to Yankee Stadium, go to the NYPD. I mean, half these guys are just fucking fat and out of shape. And the crazy thing, it's not even their fault in some weird way, because they have been given no tools, no resources on how to live an appropriate life, a healthy life, because the NYPD doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They need mouth breathers now. There are wonderful men and women at that agency, but talk to any of them. There's not one that you'll find that's happy. The mayor, I mean, dude, they don't trust them. It's a fucking disaster. And so I say these things with the intention of exposing these things so people can understand, at least at a very minimum, have compassion for cops and what they're going through.
No, you changed my dynamic on quite a bit today. Like, what I was thinking wasn't what you said, and what you said is true. You know what I mean? And I mean, that's really valuable for me. Maybe I didn't have enough compassion. Maybe I didn't understand the direction that they were going. Maybe I didn't know what they were up against. And, I judged that situation probably incorrectly.
Dude, nobody comes into this profession as a cop with the intention of becoming a bad cop or a disgruntled cop or an angry cop. Everybody came in with every recruit class comes in with the right state of mind, but they get destroyed in their first year. If not the first year, the 3 years, the first 5. Dude, these guys, they are so eager to go out and make the world a better place at their academy graduation. And they just there's nothing like a bad administration to extinguish. I'm sorry, there's nothing like a bad administration to extinguish this beautiful flame that could have done such great things for the world. But they just fucking put you right out as fast as possible. Now you get a good administration, that's where you want to be. But overall, dude, they will just extinguish every hope and dream that these men and women can do, or they wanted to achieve. And that's why I give a lot of advice. I'm like, hey man, leave.
Yeah, I have this one police officer who's done a lot with CORE. He was just on my podcast last week. His name's Josh Lacey. And he's, I'm allowed to say that he gave me authorization because he's a patient at CORE. And guy's a fucking stud, right? In shape. Had some issues when he was in the military, came out, redeemed himself the whole 9 yards. And his whole goal, like you can see in his community of policing, he's on point. He's an amazing dad. He wasn't always like that. Like he's just fucking awesome, bro. He's just so awesome. Lives in Ohio and he's about to have a kid. And his goal on a daily basis, I can tell by just looking at his community of like, if he's been a police officer for a long time. He's in sick shape, stud. His goal is to like be effective of that new of that new recruit coming on all the time, dude.
Right.
I can tell by just the way he talks to me. He's just like, dude, it's easier to stay in shape than to get in shape. Like, you know, take your time, do the right thing. Like he's just, I pay close attention to what he says, and when he's talking to other people, we become super close friends. And you know, I think there might be a lack in that in a lot of industries. Like, where's that mentorship going? Like, I like to help a couple of kids each year start a business, right? Where's that mentorship going? Like, I can promise you right now, if I'm getting involved, I'm jumping in heavy and we're going to make this shit work. Inside, you know, the policing world, is it just that bad that those mentors are giving up?
I think that there is real hope and there could be real change for the future, but everybody wants to see short-term turnaround, very quick metrics, and they don't see what it takes to build a whole new generation.
Life ain't get rich quick. Yeah.
Well, people don't understand that, dude.
Yeah.
So like they can't see it happen immediately. But the cool thing is for me is like every year I get to go to this conference and listen to the men and women that we've affected so tremendously that for, you know, the 10 years I've been putting this work in, people are just like, dude, it's good for me here in Jersey because I see a lot of my friends who are chiefs and captains and deputy chiefs now and actually behaving appropriately, supporting the men and women, understand what we're trying to do.
Are they part of your educational program, or
they're not part of it? They're just behind it. They believe in it.
Yeah, I'm saying so. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like they're supporting you.
Yeah. Well, but they're supporting me for a reason, dude. Because
no, I get it.
Yeah.
You don't have to sell me on this shit.
Yeah.
I know what you're up to, dude. It's like I wouldn't have come here if I didn't think that you were onto something amazing.
It's really good stuff, and sometimes you know you don't want to lose sight of where you're supposed to be.
I think there's a whole nother division of educating the community about this stuff.
Trying.
I think there's a whole nother piece.
Some of them don't want to listen.
Yeah, I know.
And if it doesn't fit the agenda of the government that you're working under, they're going to suppress you.
Yeah, I get it.
And that's where I'm living right now, unfortunately. But I love this state, dude. As crazy as it sounds, I fucking love living here. I love my friends and family, and I'm willing to trade that in. And I don't run from fights.
Yeah. No,
I'm not going to, you know, my attorney originally was like, oh, you should fucking, you ever think of like moving to Florida or something like that? Dude, I know bullshit. Even an invite from the governor himself from Florida.
Yeah.
Right? Like, come down here, we got your back, kind of shit like that, right?
That's solid.
It is, but I'm not running from this bullshit. Because it's only a matter of time before it all subsides and it goes away. It's temporary. I know that.
You're going to win. You're going to...
I'm at least going to fight.
No, you're going to win because the reality of it is there's so much positive reinforcement it gives, not just to you, but just that the police officer gives to the community. Like everything I watched wasn't one-sided. It wasn't like police. It was like community and policing.
Yeah, that's right.
And I noticed that immediately. Like there's no, oh, the cop's right, the community's right. It's like you're educating and teaching right.
Dude, I can understand where a lot of this stuff comes from. I can understand where a lot of this disdain comes from, but it's our job to make sure that we're providing clarity. And it's even if the other side doesn't want to listen, we still have to show up and explain. You know, I don't think it's just police work. I think it's just in general.
Yeah, it is. It's too bad you have to kind of segregate the two communities. It's too bad everyone just won't listen, you know, at the same time.
I think we also, and I've said this, you know, plenty of times before, I think that we're also allowing ourselves to believe what we see. And unfortunately, you can't believe what you see.
The media's not helping. The media's not helping.
No, as a matter of fact, they're just driving that stake between everybody.
It's just amazing. When I was a kid, you know, growing up, I never felt the difference between a Republican or a Democrat. You couldn't really, it was like, all right, they stood for this. It was a little bit this. Now it's like such segregation and so aggressive, you know.
Because stay above it.
Yeah, it's what
you know
I'm
what
saying.
I mean? Like I think about like, I'm going to this.
It's driven such a different. It's divided the country so aggressively. It's wild to me.
I thought about this today. I was in the shower. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to this fucking event, supposed to be like July 15th, this other mastermind group, right?
Yep.
And I just know for a fact these motherfuckers don't give a shit what's going on in politics. Like, it's so below them. You know what I mean? Like, what do they care? Like,
Doesn't matter.
You're playing these games, these Democrat Republican games. And I tell people that, like, we don't make this about Democrat and Republican. We make it about there are cops showing up, and I love this country and I love human beings. And if we can do something to keep them alive and keep other people alive, then that's what we're going to do. Give a fuck what side of the fence you're on. There's Democratic mayors in this state that love the police, right? So I can't choose one side.
Exactly.
I have my values and my principles. I'm not a, I think some people are completely off the deep end, and there's no talking to them at all, and there's no resolution. There's no middle grounds. Like,
so I haven't seen enough, but do you just roast people that come at you like that in this thing, or you just kind of try to take it easy?
I learned something a long time ago that, well, I'll talk about two things. One, you can't make sense to a crazy person.
Yep.
So I want nothing. I just completely
disengage. Did they teach you that at the academy?
I actually learned that in the field.
Yeah.
I was trying, yeah. And they should teach you that at the academy, but I learned that in the field. But two, man, I think everybody deserves an opportunity to be heard. And when you first use the first filter, is this person crazy? Is this person not? And then if you can keep somebody emotionally calm and just remove the emotions, have a conversation, and then also be vulnerable and open to listening to what their position is and trying to see it from their shoes. Like, it's how I parent. I see my kids from their perspective. And dude, sometimes I go home and, like I've said this before, I'm fucking exhausted. Life's tough times.
Ugh.
And they come in and they're fucking jumping on me and grabbing my neck. And like, even yesterday in the pool, my daughter, she's the youngest, she jumps on my neck. She like yoked me up. Like,
yeah.
She's trying to climb on my shoulders. Now, I've seen parents who are like, what the fuck? And I'm just like, oh, Jesus, that fucking hurt. I'm like, all right, let me get you back on my shoulder. I'm not like yelling at her.
So important to her.
I'm trying to see.
Yeah.
What does she see? She's not trying to make her father hurt. She wants to play with her father. And I got to give credit where credit's due. I learned it from their mother.
Yeah.
So, I try to see things from how people perceive it. But again, dude, first got to ask this question. Are they reasonable? If you don't have somebody who's reasonable, you might as well just walk away.
Yeah, you just do the podcast and don't even post it.
Bro, like, right, like this state of like that I'm fighting this fucking group here in this state over nothing. The question is, are they reasonable? The answer is no. They can't be reasoned with. They're not reasonable.
So it's just like patience to win the battle.
I don't know what about, I think it's to endure the battle, whether it's a win or a loss.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
patience. It's enduring the battle. And you have to make a decision and come to terms at some point are you going to be in it for the long run? And are you going to endure this thing? And no matter how bloody it gets. And dude, I have been getting my fucking teeth kicked down my throat for quite a while. I mean, it's been hard. Bro, it's been hard. When I was I'm like,
well, everyone would do it if it was easy. If they had the ability to do it. Like, I have people, so I'm going to tell you something quickly right now. I have a huge presence in Florida. Everyone thinks Core Medical makes their money all in Florida. I make 10% of my income from Florida. The balance of it is in states outside of Florida. What that does is it makes all my competition go to Florida. So like, we have different ways of diverting things. And like, just like you said, like, people just see your success and they're probably like, oh, I can do that. I'm going to do that. And then what happens is it's probably a little bit different over here because you need to have a strong backbone. But like, I have people in my area starting a business similar to mine right next door to me, standing outside their business, trying to be hurtful to my business, saying, come in here, it'll be cheaper. But guess what? They don't get the same experience, right?
Yeah.
So a lot like this, like, the academy thinks like they shouldn't know what you're teaching them. But guess what? They're coming anyways because what you're teaching is valuable.
Dude, it's wild. And, you just have to be resilient and you have to thank God for the hardest times in my life. Because if I didn't go through those hardest times in my life, I wouldn't know that I'd be okay right now.
Oh, yeah. Those are the best.
Dude, it's like the first breakup when you have your heart broken for the first time. You're like, how the fuck? You're just going to be fine.
You kind of learn to...
One foot in front of the other,
you
breathe.
Kind of learn to like that misery every once in a while when you get into it. Like these days, like sometimes I like that, like, oh man, this is an uneasy feeling. I felt this one before.
Oh, I hate it.
You really?
Well, dude, okay, I don't hate it. There's only one.
There's so much growth from it because you're going to come out the other side, right?
Yeah, no, I'm going to be good. But like when my one attorney calls me, it's this whole fight with these fuckers here. When he calls, it's because it hasn't been any good news yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, dude, you would not know this.
Yeah, history's been repeating itself so much.
It's,
that when
dude, it's been like
I got
13 months of like getting my fucking face smashed. It's been very expensive. And it's just, you would not believe, it would sound so like such a crazy conspiracy theory if I explained to you, but you would understand it because you're in the game. But if I explain to you the amount of like shit going on behind the scenes and how unfair they're playing, it's wild. And you're just like, there's nobody, you can't run and tell somebody. There's no authority.
You can't expose them, right? Yeah,
I mean, like, we're exposed a little bit here, right? Like, but like, you can't run and tell some authority of like the illegal activity that's going on because they're the authority. So what are you going to do? You're going to go tell someone? Who are you going to tell?
Yeah, man.
Anyway, well, dude, we've been going for almost 2.5 hours and I have to piss.
So do I.
Dude, promote Core Medical Group. Tell us about it. Tell us where they can find it.
Well, Core's pretty much everywhere now. If you live in the 43 states, we're there to support you. We do a lot of telemedicine, and you can check Core Medical Group, grp.com. And I want to thank you so much for having me today, man. It was awesome. Totally worth the trip.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
I look forward to maybe seeing you again shortly in the future, brother.
Yeah, I'd love it. Be great, dude. I think the Core Medical Group and Street Cop Training will probably do some work together. It's my guess.
Sounds like a plan.
My intuition's going there.
I'm all in.
You heard it, folks. Peace. Hey guys, check out our upcoming training at streetcop.com. Don't forget, we have 50 instructors nationally teaching a variety of topics. These are the best classes you're going to experience in your career. We make sure of it. You're going to love it. I guarantee you're going to be thankful that you went. Check us out at streetcop.com for all upcoming classes in your area.